Shut your mouth and give me that money now." The words from Sarah echoed through the living room like thunder. My own daughter, the little girl I held in my arms for entire nights when she was sick with a fever, was standing in front of me with her fists clenched and her face red with fury. It was not a request, it was a demand. An order thrown with so much contempt that I felt like something had been ripped out of my chest. I was sitting on the sofa, my hands in my lap, trying to explain to her why I could not just hand over the $2 million that my brother Robert had left me, trying to make her understand that this money represented my security, my future, my peace of mind, but she did not want to listen. She just wanted to scream. "Mom, don't give me that story. You don't need that money. You live alone. You don't spend on anything. What the hell are you going to do with $2 million at your age?" Her words cut right through me. At my age. As if being 67 years old meant my life no longer mattered. As if I no longer had the right to decide what was mine. "Sarah, please, calm down," I tried to say, but my voice came out weak, trembling. "Let me explain." "No, there is nothing to explain. I am your daughter, your only daughter, and I have a right to that money." She took a step toward me, and for a moment, I thought she was going to hit the table. "You don't know what it's like to have debt, Mom. You don't know what it's like to live with the pressure of having everything taken away. And meanwhile, you're just sitting there, hoarding $2 million like you're some rich woman." I stayed silent, not because I wanted to, but because something inside me broke in that instant. I looked at my daughter and did not recognize her. The woman in front of me was not the girl I had raised. She was someone else, someone desperate, someone who saw me as an obstacle. The Sunday had started like any other. I woke up early, made coffee, opened the living room curtains, and let the light in. My house is small but tidy. 3 bedrooms, a kitchen that always smells like cilantro and lime, and a living room where I keep the photos of when Sarah was little. I have lived alone since my husband died 12 years ago. At first, it was hard. Then, I learned to enjoy the silence. Sarah would come to visit me on Sundays, though not always. Sometimes 2, 3 weeks would pass without her showing up, and when she did, she was always in a hurry. "Hi, Mom, just came to say hello." She would sit for 10 minutes, check her phone, and leave. I never complained. I understood she had her life, her job, her things. But that Sunday was different. When the doorbell rang at 11 o'clock in the morning, I knew something was wrong. Sarah never arrived so early. I opened the door, and there she was, in dark jeans and a white blouse, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She had that smile she used when she wanted something. "Hi, Mommy, how are you?" She kissed me on the cheek and walked in without waiting for a reply. "I made chicken stew," I said, closing the door. "Have you eaten?" "I'm not hungry, Mom. I need to talk to you." She sat on the sofa and patted the cushion next to her. "Come, sit." I sat down slowly, my stomach in a knot. I knew what she wanted to talk about. Ever since I received the call from Robert's lawyer 3 weeks ago, I knew Sarah would come for this. My brother had died in Texas, alone, in his apartment, a massive heart attack at 72. He did not suffer, they told me. He just went, and he left me everything he had, $2 million. The money he had saved working in construction for 40 years. Money he never spent on vacations, on luxuries, on anything. Robert lived on just enough. He always said he preferred to have security than pleasures. "Mom, I know you received the inheritance from Uncle Robert," Sarah said, her voice soft. Too soft. "And I want you to know I am so happy for you. Seriously, you deserve it." I nodded, but said nothing. I waited. "The thing is, well, Mom, you know I've had financial problems, serious problems. I have debts with the bank, with credit cards, and I'm at my limit. If I don't pay soon, they're going to take the house." She moved closer and took my hand. "Mom, I need your help. I need you to give me part of that money. Not all of it, just enough to get out of this." I felt a lump in my throat. Not because I did not want to help her, but because something in her tone told me this was not a request. It was the beginning of something bigger. "Sarah, I understand you are going through a difficult time," I said slowly. "But that money is all I have. It's my security. At my age, I cannot work anymore. I cannot recover what I spend. And I also don't know how much longer I'm going to. How much longer you're going to live." Sarah dropped my hand and pulled back. "Seriously, Mom? Are you telling me you'd rather die with $2 million in the bank than help your own daughter?" "I am not saying that, Sarah. I am just saying I need to think about it. That I need to see how." "Think about what, Mom? What is there to think about?" "I am your daughter, your blood. And I am here asking you for help. And you tell me you have to think about it?" Her voice started to rise. "You know what? I always knew you were selfish, but I never thought you would go this far." I froze. Selfish. That word stuck in me like a nail. "Sarah, please, do not talk like that." "Don't talk like what? And how do you want me to talk, Mom? I am desperate, and you are there, calm, with $2 million you do not even need." She stood up and started pacing. "You don't understand anything. You live in your world, in this little house, without any worries. But I have a real life. I have real expenses. I have real problems." "I had problems too, Sarah," I said, and my voice came out firmer than I expected. "I struggled too. And I never screamed at anyone for money. That was the mistake." Because at that moment, Sarah turned around and looked at me with a fury I had never seen in her before. "Shut your mouth and give me that money now," she screamed, and the sound filled the entire house. "Don't give me sermons. Don't talk to me about your struggle. You don't know anything about living in today's world. Give me that damn money before it's too late." I just sat there, looking at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. My daughter, the girl I had raised with love, with sacrifice, with everything I had, was screaming at me, was treating me as if I were her enemy. And in that moment, something inside me changed. That night I could not sleep. I stayed sitting in bed, my back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling. Sarah's words kept echoing in my head. "Shut your mouth and give me that money now." Over and over. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her standing in front of me, with that rage on her face, as if I were the worst person in the world for not handing over the only thing I had left. I got up when the clock struck 5 o'clock in the morning. There was no point in trying to sleep. I went to the kitchen, put water on to boil, and made coffee. The same ritual as always. Open the cupboard, take out the white mug with blue flowers my husband gave me 20 years ago. Put in 2 spoonfuls of coffee and wait. The house was silent. A silence that used to bring me peace, but now made me feel more alone than ever. I looked out the kitchen window. The sun was just beginning to rise. The streets were empty. Everything seemed normal. But nothing was normal. Not after what had happened. Sarah had left the apartment, slamming the door so hard it made the pictures on the wall tremble. She did not say goodbye. She did not look at me. She just grabbed her purse and left like a storm. I had remained on the sofa, trembling, not knowing what to do, not knowing whether to cry or just accept that something had been broken forever. I took a sip of coffee and felt the warmth go down my throat. I needed to think. I needed to understand how we had gotten to this point. Because Sarah was not always like this. Or maybe she was. Maybe I just had not wanted to see it. My life has not been glamorous. I have not traveled the world or had luxuries. After my husband died, I learned to live with little. With my widow's pension and the savings we had, I managed to get by. I paid my bills, bought my food, kept the house clean. I did not need more. Or so I thought. Sarah grew up in this house, the same house where I now live alone. When she was a child, she ran through these hallways, played in the small backyard we have, sat in this very kitchen doing homework while I made dinner. She was a sweet, obedient, loving girl. But something changed when she grew up. Maybe it was after her father died. Maybe it was when she got married and divorced 2 years later. Or maybe it was when she lost her job and had to start from scratch. I do not know. What I do know is that the Sarah who came to my house yesterday is not the same one I raised. I sat at the kitchen table and opened the drawer where I keep important papers. I took out the envelope Robert's lawyer had given me. Inside were all the inheritance documents. The letter my brother wrote before he died. The certificate of deposit, the numbers. $2 million, an amount I still cannot fully process. I read Robert's letter for the 5th time. His handwriting was shaky, almost illegible in parts. Eleanor, my dear sister, if you are reading this, it means I'm gone. I want you to know that everything I have is yours. I have no one else. You are the only thing I have left of our family. Use this money however you want. Live peacefully. Live happily. Do not give it to anyone who does not value you. Do not let anyone take what is yours. With love, Robert. I closed my eyes and felt the tears run down my cheeks. Robert was always wise. He always knew how to see the things I did not want to see. And in that letter, he was warning me. He was telling me to protect what was mine, to not let myself be manipulated. I put the letter back in the envelope and put it in the drawer. I finished my coffee and stood up. I had to do something. I could not just sit here waiting for Sarah to come back and scream at me again. I had to take control of my life. I spent the rest of the morning cleaning the house. I swept the living room floor, dusted the furniture, washed the dishes that Sarah had not even touched the day before. Every movement was mechanical, automatic, but it helped me not to think, not to feel the knot in my chest that would not go away. When I finished, I sat on the sofa and looked at the photos I have on the shelf. Sarah as a baby, in my arms. Sarah at her first communion, with a white dress and a huge smile. Sarah on her wedding day, radiant, happy, and me next to her, proud, always believing she was the best daughter in the world. But photos lie, or maybe they do not. Maybe that girl did exist, and at some point, she got lost. The phone rang at 11 o'clock in the morning. I looked at the screen. It was Sarah. My first instinct was not to answer. But something inside me still had hope. Hope that she had called to apologize, to tell me she had been wrong, to be my daughter again. I answered, "Mom?" Her voice sounded different, calmer, almost sweet. "Yes, Sarah. What is it?" "Mom, I know things got out of control yesterday, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I should not have yelled at you like that, but I'm just so desperate, Mom. So tired. And when you told me you could not help me, I felt like everything was collapsing." I closed my eyes. There it was, the victim tone. The same one she used when she was a teenager and wanted me to forgive her for something. "Sarah, I understand you are going through a difficult time, but that does not give you the right to talk to me like that. I am your mother, and I deserve respect." "I know, Mom. I know. And I respect you. It is just that. Well, you don't know what it's like to be in my shoes. To have debts that grow every day. To have people calling you all the time demanding money. It's horrible, Mom. It's like living in a nightmare." I sighed. Part of me wanted to hug her, to tell her everything was going to be okay. But another part of me, the part that Robert woke up with his letter, told me to stop, to not fall for this again. "Sarah, I cannot solve all your problems. You are an adult. You have to find a way out of this on your own." There was a long silence. "Too long. That's all you're going to tell me, Mom? That I should figure it out on my own?" Her voice began to change. The sweetness was fading. "I have a mother with $2 million, and you tell me to figure it out on my own. Unbelievable. Sarah, please." "No, Mom. I get it. I get it perfectly. You'd rather keep that money, saved up, doing nothing with it, than help your own daughter. Fine. Perfect. Now I know who you really are." And she hung up. I was left with the phone in my hand, staring at the screen. I felt something break inside me. Something I was not going to be able to repair. The following days were strange. Sarah did not call again. She did not come to visit. It was as if she had disappeared from my life. At first, I felt relief. But then came the guilt. That guilt that mothers always carry. The guilt of wondering if I had done the right thing, if I should have given her the money, if I was selfish for wanting to keep it. I got up every morning with the same routines. I made coffee, opened the curtains, cleaned the house. But everything felt empty, as if I were living on autopilot, as if my life no longer had meaning. One afternoon I was watering the plants in the backyard when I heard someone knocking on the door. My heart skipped a beat. I thought it was Sarah, that she had come back, that everything was going to be okay. But it was not her. It was Margaret Evans, my neighbor for life. Margaret is 63, short, gray hair, and a smile that always makes me feel better. We have lived on the same block for over 30 years. We have been through everything together. Divorces, deaths, illnesses. She is more than a neighbor. She is my friend, my sister. Eleanor? Are you okay? She asked with that look that can see beyond words. I haven't seen you in days, and you seem off. I looked at her and felt the tears starting to well up. I did not want to cry. I did not want to be weak. But with Margaret, I could not pretend. Come in, Margaret. I need to talk to someone. Margaret came into the house and sat with me at the kitchen table. I made her coffee and sat across from her. I did not know where to start. I did not know how to explain what was happening without sounding like a selfish mother who denies her daughter everything. Tell me, Eleanor. What happened? Margaret put her hand on mine. Her touch was warm, comforting. The complete opposite of the coldness I had felt with Sarah. I took a deep breath and started to talk. I told her everything. From the call from Robert's lawyer to last Sunday when Sarah screamed at me in the living room. I told her about the $2 million, about the pressure, about the hurtful words, about the slammed door, about the call where Sarah blamed me for being selfish. Margaret listened without interrupting, just nodding from time to time, her eyes fixed on mine. When I finished talking, I realized I was crying. The tears were falling uncontrollably, and I could not stop them. Oh, Eleanor, Margaret said softly. This is not your fault. You know that, right? I don't know, Margaret. Sometimes I think I am selfish, that I should help her. She's my daughter. What mother doesn't help her daughter when she needs it? A mother who respects herself, Margaret replied firmly. Eleanor, listen to me. That money is yours. Your brother left it to you, not to Sarah, to you. And he did it because he loved you, because he trusted you, because he knew you would need it. But Sarah has debts. She has problems. And I'm here, sitting on $2 million that I don't even know what to do with. And what has she done to have those debts, Eleanor? Has she told you? Margaret looked at me with that expression she has when she knows something I do not want to admit. Because I've seen Sarah. I've seen her arriving in taxis, buying new clothes, going out to expensive restaurants. She does not seem like a person who is ruined. I remained silent, because Margaret was right. Sarah always complained about not having money, but her life did not look like that of someone in crisis. She always wore brand-name clothes. She always had the newest phone. She always talked about places she had gone. Eleanor, there is something you need to understand. You are not responsible for Sarah's problems. She is an adult. She is over 40. If she has debts, it is because she made decisions that led her there. And that is not your fault. But she's my daughter, Margaret. Yes, and precisely because of that, you must not let her manipulate you. Margaret squeezed my hand. Because that is what she is doing, Eleanor. She is manipulating you. She is using your motherly love against you. And you are letting her. Her words hurt me. Not because they were cruel, but because they were true. A truth I had been avoiding since last Sunday. What should I do, Margaret? I just don't know anymore. I feel like if I give her the money, I will be left with nothing. But if I do not give it to her, I will lose my daughter. Eleanor, if your daughter only wants you for the money, then you have already lost her. And that is the most painful part. But it is the reality. Margaret got up and went to the cupboard. She took out a bottle of water and poured me a glass. Drink. And listen to me. You have to protect yourself. You have to make sure that money is safe. Because if Sarah is as desperate as she sounds, she will not stop until she gets what she wants. Do you think she would do something bad? Margaret did not answer immediately. She sat down again and looked me straight in the eyes. I think desperation makes people do things they never thought they would do. And I think you need to be prepared. That conversation with Margaret left me thinking for days. I began to see things differently. I began to remember situations I had previously ignored. Like the time Sarah asked me to lend her $5,000 to pay for a supposed medical emergency. She never paid me back, never mentioned it again. Or when she asked to borrow my credit card because hers was blocked. She made purchases for over $2,000 and took months to pay me back. She always found an excuse. She always made me feel guilty for asking for my money back. and I always ended up forgiving her, because she was my daughter, because I thought that was what mothers did. But now, with $2 million at stake, things were different, and I knew it. I decided to follow Margaret's advice. I needed to protect myself. I needed to make sure that money was safe, so I made an appointment with a lawyer, not the same one who had handled Robert's inheritance. That one was in Texas, and it was complicated. I looked for one here, in the city, someone who could guide me on what to do. The lawyer's name was Stephen Clark. He had a small office downtown, in an old but well-kept building. When I walked in, he greeted me with a kind smile. He was a man in his 50s, with glasses and a calm demeanor that made me feel safe. "Mrs. Miller, please sit down. How can I help you?" I explained the situation. I told him about Robert, the inheritance, Sarah, everything. Stephen listened attentively, taking notes in a legal pad. "I understand," he said when I finished. "And you want to make sure that money is protected, correct?" "Yes. I do not want anyone to be able to take it from me, not even my daughter." Stephen nodded. "Well, Mrs. Miller, the first thing you need to know is that this money is legally yours. Your brother left it to you in his will. No one can take it from you without your consent. But I understand your concern. Sometimes family pressure can be very strong." "Exactly. I feel like if I do not do something, Sarah will not stop. And I am afraid she will make me do something I will later regret. Then what I recommend is that we open a special account, an account that is solely in your name, with no beneficiaries, with no access for anyone else. We can also draft a will where you clearly specify what you want to happen with that money when you are no longer here. That way, if anything happens to you, no one can say it was not clear." I felt relieved. Finally, someone was giving me concrete answers, real solutions. "And if she tries to sue me or something?" I asked, fear in my voice. "She has no legal basis to sue you, Mrs. Miller. The money is yours, period. But she might try to cause you problems in other ways. That is why it is important for you to be prepared, to have everything documented, to know exactly what you have and where it is." I left Stephen's office feeling stronger, with a plan, with something concrete to do. I was no longer alone in this. I was no longer lost. Over the next few days, I followed all the steps Stephen had indicated. I opened a new account at a different bank. I transferred the inheritance money to that account. I changed all my passwords. I put all the important documents in a safe deposit box I rented specifically for this. Every step I took made me feel more secure, more in control of my life. But it also made me feel more alone, because every decision I made pushed me further away from Sarah. And even though I knew it was the right thing to do, it hurt. It hurt like nothing I had ever felt before. One evening, I was sitting in the living room, watching television without paying attention, when the phone rang. It was a number I did not recognize. I hesitated before answering. But something told me I should. "Hello? Mrs. Eleanor Miller?" It was a woman's voice, formal, professional. "Yes, this is she." "Who is speaking?" "My name is Victoria Black. I am an attorney representing your daughter, Sarah Miller. I am calling because she wants to reach an agreement with you regarding your brother's inheritance." I felt the floor open up beneath me. Sarah had hired a lawyer. This was no longer just a family fight. This was something more serious. "An agreement?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's right. Miss Miller feels she is entitled to a portion of that inheritance. And before proceeding through legal channels, she wants to give you the opportunity to resolve this amicably." "That money is mine," I said, and my voice came out stronger than I expected. "My brother left it to me, legally. There is nothing to negotiate." "I understand your position, Mrs. Miller, but my client is willing to reach a reasonable settlement. If you agree to give her 50% of the inheritance, she will not take legal action." 50%. $1 million. Sarah wanted $1 million, and she was threatening to sue me if I did not give it to her. "No," I said. "I am not going to do that. That money is mine, and if she wants to sue me, let her. But I am not going to give in." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "Very well, Mrs. Miller. I will relay your response to my client. Have a good evening." I hung up and was left trembling. Not from fear, from anger, from pain, from disbelief. My own daughter was threatening me. My own daughter had hired a lawyer to take what was mine. And in that moment, I knew something had changed forever, that there was no going back. After hanging up with Sarah's lawyer, I sat on the sofa without moving. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. I could not believe what had just happened. I could not believe my own daughter had gone this far. 50%. $1 million. As if it was something I had to spare. As if I had no right to decide about my own money. I called Margaret. I needed to talk to someone before I went crazy. She answered on the second ring. Eleanor, what happened? You sound upset. Margaret, Sarah hired a lawyer. They just called me. She wants me to give her half the inheritance, or she'll sue me. I heard Margaret take a deep breath on the other end. My God, Eleanor, this has gotten out of control. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should give her something just to make her leave me alone. I'm tired, Margaret. I'm so tired of all this. No, Eleanor, do not give her anything. If you give her something now, she'll come back for more. She will always come back for more. You have to stay firm. Have you spoken to your lawyer? No, I just hung up with her lawyer. Call him now, right now. Do not wait another minute. And Eleanor, listen to me. You are not alone in this. I am with you, no matter what. Her words gave me strength. I found Stephen Clark's number and called him. He answered even though it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Mrs. Miller, what's wrong? I told him what had happened. The call, the threat, the demand for 50%. Stephen listened to me in silence. Mrs. Miller, breathe. This is common. It's a pressure tactic. They want to scare you into giving in, but legally they have no case. Your daughter has no right to that inheritance. Period. If she decides to sue, she's going to lose. And it will probably cost her a lot of money in attorney's fees. So, what do I do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Do not respond to her. Do not talk to her. Do not give her explanations. I am going to send a letter to that lawyer, making it clear that you are represented by me and that any communication must go through my office. In the meantime, you go on with your life. Do not let this destroy you. I hung up feeling a little better, but only a little. Because even though Stephen was right, even though the law was on my side, none of that changed the fact that my daughter was attacking me, that the girl I had raised with love now saw me as her enemy. The following days were a nightmare. Sarah started calling me constantly, at all hours. In the morning, in the afternoon, at night. She left long messages, some crying, others screaming. Mom, please, let's talk. I don't want us to go to court. Just give me what's mine, and everything will be fine. Or, Mom, I can't believe you're doing this to me. After everything I've done for you, this is your fault. Everything is your fault. I stopped answering. I followed Stephen's advice. But every message I heard was like a punch to the gut, like a wound that would not stop bleeding. She also started sending me text messages. Hundreds. Some begging, others threatening. Mom, if you don't give me that money, you're going to regret it. I'm going to tell everyone what you've done. The whole truth. You're a bad mother. You always were. And now everyone is going to know. I read the messages and wondered if she really knew me, if she really believed the things she was saying, or if she was just so desperate that she no longer cared about hurting me. One afternoon, someone knocked on the door. I looked through the peephole before opening. It was Sarah. She was standing there, in jeans and a black jacket, her hair down. She looked tired, her eyes puffy, as if she had not slept in days. I stayed on the other side of the door, without opening. I did not want to face her. Not after everything that had happened. Mom, I know you're in there. Please open up. I need to talk to you. Her voice sounded soft, almost broken. I did not answer. Mom, please. Just 5 minutes. I beg you. Something inside me moved. It was my daughter. She was begging, and I, as always, wanted to believe that this time was different. That this time, she was truly sorry. I opened the door slowly. Sarah looked at me with teary eyes. Her face was swollen, as if she had been crying for hours. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for opening. 5 minutes, Sarah. Just 5 minutes. She came in and sat on the sofa. I remained standing near the door, ready to run if things got ugly. Mom, I know things have gotten out of control. I know I've said horrible things, and I'm sorry. I really, truly am. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. It's just that I'm desperate, Mom. I have debts of almost $100,000. The bank is threatening to foreclose on my house. I don't have a job. I have no one to help me, and you're the only one I have. I sat in the armchair across from her. I looked at her without saying anything, waiting. I know the money is yours. I know Uncle Robert left it to you. But Mom, you don't need it. You live well on your pension. You have this house. You have everything figured out. Me, on the other hand, I'm about to lose everything. Can't you help me? Even just a little? Sarah, how did you get into $100,000 of debt? I asked. My voice came out harder than I expected. She looked down. Things. Expenses. Life is expensive, Mom. You wouldn't understand because you don't live in my world. What expenses, Sarah? Clothes? Restaurants? Trips? It's not just that. I also had emergencies. Things I had to pay for. It wasn't all just for fun. And why didn't you ask me for help before? Why did you wait until now? Because before, you didn't have money, Mom. But now you do. Now you have $2 million, and I don't understand why you don't want to share, even a little, with me. There it was again, that tone, that way of making me feel guilty, of making me believe I was the bad guy for not giving her what she asked for. Sarah, that money is my security. It's the only thing I have for my old age, for emergencies, so I can live peacefully without depending on anyone. But I'm your daughter, Mom. Families are supposed to help each other. You're supposed to want to help me. I helped you your whole life, Sarah. I gave you an education. I gave you a home. I gave you food. I gave you love. And you know what? You never thanked me for it. It was never enough. And now you come here to demand $1 million, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. Sarah stood up. The softness in her face began to disappear. You know what, Mom? You're right. Nothing was ever enough, because you were never a good mother. You were always more worried about your life, about your things, than about me. Dad was the one who raised me. You were just there for decoration. Her words pierced me like knives. That is not true, Sarah. And you know it. Isn't it? Really? Then tell me, Mom, where were you when I needed you? When I got divorced? When I lost my job? Oh, right. You were here, in your cozy little house, living your quiet life while I was suffering. I was always available for you, Sarah. Always. But you never wanted my help. You only wanted my money. Because that's the only thing that works, Mom. Money is the only thing that solves problems. And you have it, and you don't want to give it to me. It's not that I don't want to. It's that I can't. I can't give you something that will leave me with nothing. I can't sacrifice my future for your mistakes. Sarah looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. You know what, Mom? I tried to do this the nice way. I tried to talk to you. I tried to reason. But I see it's useless. So, we're going to do this the hard way. What does that mean? It means I'm going to do everything in my power to take that money from you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to say things about you. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of mother you are, and in the end, you're going to be left alone, completely alone. She turned and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned one last time. This is your fault, Mom. Everything that happens from now on is your fault. And she left, leaving me standing in the middle of the living room, trembling, with tears falling uncontrollably. That night, I could not sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything Sarah had said, wondering if she was right, if I really had been a bad mother, if this was all my fault. But then I remembered Robert's words in his letter. Do not give it to anyone who does not value you. Do not let anyone take what is yours. And I understood that my brother knew. He knew this was going to happen. He knew Sarah would come for the money. He knew I would need strength to resist. And I decided I was not going to give in. I was not going to let her destroy me. I was going to fight for what was mine, even if it meant losing my daughter forever. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into a silent hell. Sarah kept her threat. Not only did she sue me, but she started calling distant relatives, neighbors, anyone who would listen, telling them her version of the story. I was the villain, the selfish mother who refused to help her daughter in trouble, the greedy old woman who preferred to hoard millions rather than lend a hand to her own blood. The first to call me was my cousin Diane, who lives in Arizona and with whom I barely speak twice a year. "Eleanor?" Sarah called me crying. She told me about the inheritance. "Is it true you won't help her?" She says she's desperate, that she could lose her house. Her tone was not a question. It was a judgment, as if she had already decided I was wrong. "Diane, the situation is more complicated than what Sarah told you," I tried to explain. But she interrupted me. "Eleanor, she's your daughter. Your only daughter. How can you be so hard on her? Sometimes mothers have to sacrifice for their children. It's what we're supposed to do." That word, sacrifice. As if my whole life had not been just that. As if I had not spent years sacrificing for Sarah. For her education. For her well-being. For everything. "Thank you for your opinion, Diane. But this is between Sarah and me." And I hung up before she could say anything else. Then it was my neighbor from the corner, Mrs. Evans, who stopped saying hello to me. Before, she would always stop when she saw me pass, ask how I was, offer me coffee. Now she crossed the street to avoid me. Margaret told me Sarah had gone to visit her, had cried to her for an hour talking about how awful I was, how I was letting her starve while I was swimming in money. "People are talking, Eleanor," Margaret told me one afternoon while we were having tea in my kitchen. "They're saying horrible things about you, and you can't just stay silent." "And what do you want me to do, Margaret? Go out on the street and defend myself? Explain to every single person what's really happening? I'm not going to do that. People can think whatever they want, but it's affecting you. I see you getting thinner every day, more tired. You're not eating well. You're not sleeping. Sarah is destroying you, and you're letting her." She was right. I had lost almost 20 pounds in the last few weeks. I had no appetite. I had no energy for anything. I would wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, thinking about everything Sarah was saying about me, how she was painting me as a monster. But the worst part was not what she said to others. It was what she sent to me. The text messages arrived at all hours. "Mom, you know what? I hope you die soon so I can finally have what's mine." Or, "You're a selfish old hag, and everyone knows it. No one is going to be by your side when you die alone." Or, "I hope that money makes you happy, because it's the only thing you're going to have." Each message was a dagger. Every word reminded me that the daughter I knew no longer existed, that in her place was a stranger full of hatred and resentment. One morning I was at the grocery store buying vegetables when I heard voices behind me. Two women I did not know, talking in low voices but loud enough for me to hear. "That's her. The one who won't help her daughter." "Really? She looks so normal. Who would have thought she's such a terrible person?" "Yep. My friend told me her daughter is about to be homeless, and she has millions saved up. What a horrible mother." I clutched my bag of vegetables and walked to the checkout. I did not turn around. I did not say anything, but I felt the shame cover me like a heavy blanket. I paid quickly and left the store, almost running. When I got home, I locked myself in my room and cried. I cried like I had not cried in years. I cried for the daughter I had lost, for the reputation she was destroying, for the peace I no longer had. Margaret came that afternoon. She knocked on the door insistently until I opened. She saw my swollen face, my red eyes, and hugged me without saying a word. She let me cry on her shoulder until I had no tears left. "This has to stop, Eleanor," she said when I finally let go. "Sarah is killing you slowly, and you have to fight back." "How, Margaret? How do I fight back against my own daughter?" "By confronting her. By telling her enough. By showing her you won't let her destroy you." But I did not know if I had the strength for that. I felt so tired, so empty, so alone. The next day I had an appointment with Stephen. I had been avoiding going to his office because every time I talked about the case, I felt worse. But Margaret was right. I could not go on like this. I needed to do something. "Mrs. Miller, I'm glad to see you, Stephen greeted me when I entered his office. I have news about the lawsuit. I sat across from him, my heart in my throat. Tell me, your daughter's lawsuit has no legal basis. As I told you, she has no right to your brother's inheritance. The judge will probably dismiss it at the first hearing, but there's something else I need to tell you. He paused. Your daughter is trying to prove that you are not in full mental faculty, that you're vulnerable, that someone manipulated you to get the money. She is asking for a legal guardian to be appointed to manage your assets. I felt the floor move beneath me. What? It's a desperate strategy, and it's not going to work. But I need you to be prepared for this. They're going to try to paint you as a frail old woman who can't make decisions. They're going to question your mental health. And you're going to have to prove that you are perfectly fine. But I am fine. I am perfectly fine. I know. And we're going to prove it. I'm going to ask you to undergo a complete psychological evaluation with a certified specialist, so we have proof that you are in full command of your faculties. I nodded, although the idea terrified me. And what if she keeps insisting? If she keeps making things up? Then we will take legal action against her. For defamation, for harassment, for whatever is necessary. Mrs. Miller, you have to understand something. Your daughter is not going to stop until she gets what she wants, or until someone stops her, and that someone has to be you. I left Stephen's office feeling a mix of fear and determination. Fear because I knew this was going to get worse before it got better. Determination because I was tired of being the victim. I was tired of crying. I was tired of feeling guilty for something that was not my fault. That night, for the first time in weeks, I was able to sleep for a few hours. Not many, but enough to wake up with a bit more clarity. The next day I did the psychological evaluation Stephen had requested. I spent 3 hours with a psychologist answering questions, doing tests, talking about my life. At the end, she told me something that made me feel better. Mrs. Miller, you are completely fine. In fact, you're doing better than many people your age. You have mental clarity, good memory, and admirable emotional strength. There is nothing to indicate that you cannot make decisions about your life. When I told Margaret, she smiled for the first time in days. See? I told you. You're fine. It's Sarah who has the problem. But Sarah did not give up. A week later, she showed up at my door, accompanied by her lawyer. She did not ring the bell. She just pounded on the door, as if she had the right to enter whenever she wanted. I did not open it. I stayed on the other side, listening. Mom, I know you're in there. Open the door. We need to talk. Sarah's voice sounded tired, defeated. Mrs. Miller, this is Attorney Victoria Black, the other voice said. We just want to talk to you for a few minutes, to see if we can reach an agreement before this goes to trial. I have nothing to talk to you about, I said from inside. Anything you have to say it through my lawyer. Mom, please, Sarah begged. And for a moment, just for a moment, I felt the urge to open, to let her in, to listen to her one more time. But then I remembered everything she had said, everything she had done, and I kept the door closed. Fine, Mom, Sarah said, and her voice changed completely. It was no longer a plea, it was a threat. If that's how you want it, that's how it will be. But I'm warning you, when this is over, you are going to be completely alone. No one will want to be near you, and you're going to regret not listening to me when you still had the chance. I heard their footsteps walking away. I heard a car start, and I leaned against the door, trembling, but without opening it, because I knew that if I opened that door, if I gave in even a little, I would lose myself forever. After that day, Sarah came with her lawyer. Something changed in me. It was no longer just fear or sadness I felt. It was something deeper. It was anger. Anger for everything she had done to me, for how she had treated me, for how she had tried to destroy me, using my own motherly love against me. And that anger, although it scared me to feel it, also gave me strength. Margaret noticed it immediately. You look different, she told me one afternoon as we were making coffee in my kitchen. Stronger. Like you've finally woken up. I'm tired, Margaret. Tired of crying. Tired of feeling guilty. Tired of letting Sarah control me. I can't live like this anymore. I'm glad to hear you say that. because you're going to need that strength for what's coming. This isn't going to end anytime soon, but you're going to get through it, and you're going to come out stronger." I followed her advice. I started taking care of myself. I went back to eating normally. I started walking in the mornings. I started reading again, something I had not done in months. Small things that reminded me I still had a life, that it was still worth living. One morning, while I was watering the plants in the backyard, I heard someone knock on the door. My first instinct was not to open. I thought it was Sarah again. But when I looked out the window, I saw a woman I did not know. She was in her 50s, with brown hair in a braid and wearing a simple beige dress. I opened the door slowly. "Yes. Can I help you?" The woman smiled warmly. "Mrs. Eleanor Miller?" "Yes, that's me. My name is Emily. I'm a social worker from the Senior Support Center. Your neighbor, Mrs. Margaret Evans, contacted us. She said you might need some support." I felt a mix of surprise and gratitude. Margaret had done this for me without even telling me. "I don't know if I need support," I said uncertainly. "But you can come in." Emily came in, and we sat in the living room. She explained that the center offered legal, psychological, and social services for older adults going through difficult situations. "It's more common than you think, Mrs. Miller. Many people your age face pressure from family members over money or property, and we're here to help." I told her my story. Everything, from the inheritance to the threats, to the lawsuit. Emily listened without interrupting, taking some notes in a small notebook. "Mrs. Miller, the first thing I want you to know is that you are not alone, and the second is that you have done nothing wrong. You have every right to protect your assets. They are yours. And no one, not even your daughter, can force you to hand them over." Her words made me feel validated, understood, something I had not felt in a long time. "We have a support group," Emily continued. "It's women your age who have gone through similar situations. They meet once a week, they share their stories, they support each other. I think it would do you good to meet them." I agreed. I had nothing to lose. The following week, I went to my first group meeting. It was in a small room at the community center. There were 6 women sitting in a circle, all over 60, all with stories similar to mine. The first to speak was a woman named Gloria. She was 70, and her son had stolen her savings using her documents. "I felt so ashamed," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought it was my fault, that I had been careless. But I learned here that financial abuse is real, and that we don't have to put up with it in silence." Another woman, Ruth, shared that her children had put her in a nursing home without her consent to take her house. "I had to sue them to get my freedom back. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was worth it. Now I live alone, in my house, and they can't touch me anymore." Every story I heard was a reflection of mine. Daughters who demanded, sons who manipulated, families that turned into enemies over money, and all these women had survived. They had all found a way to move forward. When it was my turn to speak, the words came out in a rush. I told them everything. I cried. I let it all out. And they listened without judging, without telling me I was wrong, without telling me I should forgive Sarah. They were just there. At the end of the session, Gloria came up to me. "Eleanor, what you are doing is brave. Don't forget that. Defending what's yours doesn't make you a bad mother. It makes you a woman with dignity." Those words stayed with me for days. I repeated them to myself every time I felt like I was going to give in. Every time the guilt tried to creep back. Meanwhile, the legal process moved forward. Stephen kept me informed of every step. Sarah's lawsuit had been dismissed, just as he had predicted, but she had appealed, and now we were waiting for a new hearing. "She's doing this to wear you down, Mrs. Miller," Stephen explained. "She knows she has no case, but she wants you to get tired, to give her something just to make her go away. Don't fall for it." I was not going to fall for it. I had already decided I would see this through to the end. One afternoon I was at the grocery store when I saw Sarah. She was in the dairy aisle, alone, looking at her phone. She looked different, thinner, paler, as if she was not sleeping well either. For a moment, I thought about approaching her, about asking her how she was, about trying one more time to build a bridge. But then I remembered everything she had said, everything she had done, and I kept walking. She saw me. I know she saw me. Because our eyes met for a second. But neither of us said anything. We just went on our ways like two strangers. That night, as I was lying in my bed, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. But something told me I should. Hello? Mrs. Eleanor Miller? It was a man's voice. Formal. Yes, this is she. Who is speaking? My name is Mark. I'm a private investigator. Your daughter hired me a few weeks ago to investigate you. My heart stopped. To investigate me? That's right. She wanted me to find some dirt on you. Some mistake in your finances, some legal trouble. Anything. But I found nothing. You're a clean living person, Mrs. Miller. And why are you calling me? Because I don't agree with what your daughter is doing. I have a mother. And if someone treated her the way she's treating you, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So, I decided to call you, to let you know what's happening, and to tell you to protect yourself. Thank you, I said, my voice trembling. Thank you for telling me. Take care, ma'am. And don't give up. You deserve to live in peace. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. Sarah had hired someone to investigate me. As if I were a criminal, as if I were her enemy. And in that moment, I understood that there was no turning back, that the daughter I knew was so lost that there was no way to get her back. The next day, I called Stephen. I told him about the investigator's call. That's harassment, Mrs. Miller. And it's illegal. We can use this against her. I don't want to hurt her, Stephen. I just want her to leave me alone. Then we'll send her a cease and desist letter. One that makes it clear that if she continues this behavior, we will take more serious legal action. I agreed. It was time to set firm boundaries. The letter was sent that same week, and to my surprise, it worked. Sarah's messages stopped. The calls stopped too. It was as if she had finally understood that she was not going to get what she wanted. But the peace I felt was bitter, because it meant that everything was really over between us, that there was no longer a mother and daughter, just two women fighting in court. Margaret came to visit me that afternoon. She found me in the backyard, watering the plants my husband had planted years ago. How are you? She asked. I don't know, I answered honestly. On the one hand, I feel relieved. There's no more yelling, no more threats. But on the other hand, I feel empty. Like I've lost something I'll never get back. You lost a daughter who never really existed, Eleanor. The daughter you thought you had was an illusion. The real Sarah is the one you've seen these past few months. And it hurts. It hurts like hell. But it's better to know the truth than to live a lie. She was right, as always. And what do I do now? I asked. Now you live. You live for yourself. You build a new life for yourself. A life where you are the priority, where your peace is the most important thing. That night, for the first time in months, I slept through the entire night without waking up. No nightmares, no fear, just peace. And I understood that Margaret was right. It was time to live for me. The following weeks were strange, not because they were full of drama or conflict, but precisely because of the opposite. For the first time in months, my life was quiet. There were no threatening messages, no midnight calls, no pounding on the door. It was as if Sarah had finally accepted that she was not going to get what she wanted. Or, at least, that was what I wanted to believe. I focused on myself. I started going to the support group religiously every week. Those women became more than acquaintances. They became friends, sisters. We would share coffee after each session. We called each other during the week. We supported each other on hard days. They understood my pain in a way no one else could. I also started doing things I had stopped doing years ago. I signed up for a knitting class at the community center. I started cooking with joy again, not out of obligation. I fixed up the garden I had neglected. Every plant I sowed, every stitch I knitted, every meal I prepared was an act of recovery, of becoming myself again. One morning, while I was in the kitchen making coffee cake, something I had not done since my husband died, the phone rang. I looked at the screen. It was Sarah. My heart sped up. It had been 3 weeks without hearing from her. 3 weeks of peace, and now she was calling again. I let it ring, once, twice, 3 times, Finally, I answered. "Hello? Mom?" Her voice sounded different, soft, almost broken. "Mom, it's me." "I know, Sarah. What do you need?" There was a long silence. I heard her breathing on the other end, as if she was gathering the courage to speak. "Mom, I need to see you. I need to talk to you. Please, just one more time." "Sarah, we've talked enough, and every time we do, it ends badly." I know, and I'm sorry. I really am. But this time is different, I swear. Just give me one chance, just one." Something in her voice made me hesitate. She sounded genuine, desperate, as if she really needed to talk to me, as if something had changed. "All right," I said finally. "You can come tomorrow afternoon, at 3 o'clock. But Sarah, if you come to fight, if you come to make demands, you are going to leave immediately." "Understood. Understood. Thank you, Mom. Thank you." I hung up, my stomach in knots. I did not know if I had done the right thing by agreeing to see her. I called Margaret to tell her. "Be careful, Eleanor," she warned me. "It could be a trap. She might be trying to soften you up again." "I know, but I need to give her this chance. I need to know if there's any possibility that things can get better." "All right. But please, do not give in. No matter what she says, no matter how much she cries, stay firm." I promised I would. The next day I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I do not know why. Maybe it was a way to keep busy, to not think too much about what was going to happen. I made coffee and put cookies on a plate, as if it were a normal visit, as if nothing had happened between us. At 3 o'clock on the dot, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath before opening the door. Sarah was standing there, in jeans and a simple white blouse. Her hair was down, and she had almost no makeup on. She looked tired, vulnerable. Nothing like the furious woman who had come weeks ago. "Hi, Mom," she said in a low voice. "Hello, Sarah. Come in." She entered slowly, as if she were afraid of disturbing me. She sat on the sofa where she always used to sit when she was little. I sat in the armchair across from her, my hands in my lap, waiting. "Mom, I don't know where to start." She bit her lower lip, a gesture she used to make when she was little and nervous. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened, about everything I said to you, about how I treated you, and I feel horrible. I really feel horrible." I looked at her without saying anything, waiting for her to continue. "I know I hurt you. I know I said terrible things to you, things I shouldn't have said, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Tears began to fall down her cheeks, and for a moment, just for a moment, I felt the urge to hug her, to tell her it was okay, that I forgave her, but I stayed still, because I had learned that words were not enough, that I needed to see actions. "Sarah, I appreciate you coming to apologize, but I need to know something. Why now? What's changed?" She looked down. "I lost my job 2 weeks ago, and my lawyer told me it would be almost impossible to win the case against you, that I was spending money I didn't have on something that wasn't going to work. And I realized I was destroying everything, my relationship with you, my dignity, everything." There it was, the truth. She had not come because she was truly sorry. She had come because she had run out of options, because she had lost the battle. "So, you didn't come because you're truly sorry," I said in a calm voice. "You came because you realized you weren't going to get what you wanted." "No, Mom, that's not it. I mean, I am sorry, I really am, but you're right. I also came because I realized I was wrong, that I had no right to ask you for that money. That I was being selfish. Sarah, for months you made me feel like the worst mother in the world. You yelled at me, you threatened me, you investigated me. You told everyone I was a horrible person. And now you come here to tell me you're sorry? You expect that to fix everything?" "No, I don't expect it to be fixed. I know the damage is done. But Mom, please let me show you I can change. Let me be in your life again. Not for the money, just to be your daughter." I wanted to believe her. God knows how much I wanted to believe her. But something inside me told me not to not fall for it again, to protect what little dignity I had left. "Sarah, I need time. I need to think. I need to process all this. I can't just forget what happened. I understand. I completely understand. And I'll wait, however long it takes. Just please, don't shut the door on me forever. She got up to leave. Before walking out, she turned. Mom, I want you to know something else. I dropped the appeal. I told my lawyer I don't want to continue with this. It's over. I'm not going to bother you anymore. I nodded without saying anything. She left, and I sat there in the living room, trying to process what had just happened. I called Margaret immediately. I told her everything. And you believed her? She asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to believe her, but another part tells me she's just saying what she knows I want to hear. Exactly, Eleanor. This is just another manipulation. More subtle, but still manipulation. She comes to you after she's lost everything, when she has no more cards to play. And now she wants to waltz back into your life like nothing happened. But she's my daughter, Margaret. I know, and I know it hurts. But ask yourself this. If she had won the case, if she had gotten the money, do you think she would be here, asking for forgiveness? I was silent, because I knew the answer. No, she would not be here. Eleanor, you decide if you want to give her another chance. But if you do, let it be with clear boundaries. Let it be with actions, not just words. And above all, make sure you take care of yourself first. That night, I could not sleep. I thought about everything Sarah had said, her repentant face, her tears, and I wondered if it was possible that she had really changed, or if I was just being naive again. The following days were more of the same. Sarah called me every other day, always with the same soft tone, always asking how I was, never mentioning the money, never pushing. It was as if she was trying to prove she had changed, but I was not ready to trust, not yet. One afternoon, Emily from the Senior Support Center came to visit me. Mrs. Miller, I heard your daughter has re-established contact. How are you feeling about that? Confused. I don't know whether to believe her or not. It's normal to feel that way. But I want you to think about something. True repentance comes with actions, not just words. Has she done anything concrete to show she's changed? Anything beyond saying, I'm sorry? I thought about it, and I realized, no. She had not done anything concrete, just words, promises, apologies. Mrs. Miller, you don't owe your daughter anything. Nothing. If you decide to give her another chance, do it because you want to, not because you feel obligated. And do it on your own terms. On your own timeline? Her words gave me clarity. That night, when Sarah called again, I told her something I had been wanting to say for days. Sarah, I've been thinking about everything, and I've decided something. If you want to be in my life again, it's going to be on my terms. We are not going to talk about money. We are not going to talk about the inheritance. And you are going to have to show me with actions, not with words, that you have truly changed. Are you willing to do that? There was a silence that told me everything I needed to know. Mom, okay, I accept. But her voice did not sound so sure anymore. It did not sound so repentant, and I knew I had done the right thing by setting boundaries. The following weeks were a test. Sarah tried to abide by the conditions I had set. She called me regularly, but the conversations were superficial. She asked how I was, if I needed anything from the store, if I wanted her to come visit. But there was something forced about it all, as if she were following a script, as if every word was calculated to prove she was the perfect daughter again. The first time she came to visit after our conversation, she brought flowers, sunflowers, my favorites. I remembered you liked them, she said with a smile that did not reach her eyes. I put them in a vase in the living room and made tea. We sat and talked about trivial things. The weather, the news, the neighbor across the street who had painted her house yellow. Everything except what was important. Everything except what we really needed to talk about. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. I tried to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was real. That she was really trying to rebuild our relationship. But every visit left me feeling emptier than the last. Because there was no real connection. No honesty. Just a careful performance on both sides. Margaret noticed it immediately. "You two look like two strangers having tea," she told me after watching one of Sarah's visits from her window. "Is that what you want? A relationship based on polite lies?" "I don't know what I want, Margaret. I just know I'm tired. Tired of fighting, tired of doubting, tired of all of it." "Then maybe you need to do something radical. Something that allows you to live your life without constantly waiting for Sarah to change or for things to get better." She was right. I was living in a kind of limbo. I was not really reconciled with Sarah, but I was not completely separated from her either. I was trapped in an uncomfortable middle ground that was not good for either of us. I decided to do something I had been putting off for months. Get my life completely in order. Make sure everything was secure. Not just for me, but to have the peace of mind of knowing that no one could take what was mine. I met with Stephen again. I asked him to review all my documents, to make sure everything was protected. My will, my bank accounts, the deed to the house, everything. "Mrs. Miller, everything is in order," he assured me after reviewing every paper. "No one can touch anything without your consent, and when you are no longer here, everything will pass to whomever you decide. You are completely protected." "And if I decide not to leave Sarah anything?" I asked. The question hurt as it left my lips, but I needed to ask. Stephen looked at me seriously. "That is your right. You can leave your estate to whomever you wish, to a charity, to a friend, to no one. It is your decision." That night, I sat in my room with a blank notebook. I wrote a list of all the things I wanted to do with my life, things I had put off, things I had always wanted to do but had never given myself permission. I wanted to travel, to see the world again. Like when I was young, I wanted to take painting classes. I wanted to donate part of my money to causes I cared about. I wanted to live without fear, without guilt, without constantly worrying about what Sarah thought or said. And I started to do it, little by little. First, I signed up for a watercolor class at the community center. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, I went to paint. I was not good, but it did not matter. It made me happy. It made me feel alive. Then, I donated $10,000 to a shelter for older women who were victims of abuse. Women like the ones I had met in my support group, women who needed help to rebuild their lives. When I received the thank you letter from the shelter, I cried. But this time, not from sadness, from joy, from knowing my money was doing something good. I also started fixing up the house, not because it was in bad shape, but because I wanted it to reflect who I was now. I painted the kitchen a soft yellow. I changed the living room curtains for lighter ones that let in more light. I bought new plants for the backyard. Every change was an act of self-love, of reclaiming my space. Sarah noticed the changes when she came to visit. "The house looks different, Mom. It looks good." "Thank you." I decided it was time for some changes. She nodded but said no more, and I offered no more explanations. I no longer felt the need to justify my decisions. One afternoon, while I was painting in my watercolor class, my phone rang. It was Sarah. I did not answer. I was focused on my painting, on the colors blending on the paper, on the peace I felt creating something with my own hands. After class, I checked the voicemail she had left. "Mom, I need to talk to you. It's important. Please, call me when you can." Her voice sounded tense, worried. Part of me wanted to call her immediately, but another part, the part that had learned to protect myself, told me to wait, to not run every time she called, that my peace was more important. I waited until the next day to call her back. She answered on the first ring. "Mom, thank you for calling. I need to ask you for a favor." And there it was, the real reason for her call. She needed something. "What kind of favor, Sarah?" "I need you to lend me $5,000. Just for a month. I swear I'll pay you back. It's just, I have to pay for something urgent, and I have nowhere else to get the money." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. And in that moment, I knew that nothing had changed. That all the visits, all the calls, all the flowers had just been a way to soften me up for this moment. To ask me for money again. "Sarah, I told you we were not going to talk about money. That was my condition." "I know, Mom. But this is different. It's an emergency, and it's only $5,000. It's nothing compared to what you have. There it was again. The resentment. The barely contained anger. The idea that I owed her something just because I had money. No, Sarah, I am not going to lend you the money. And if that is the only reason you have been calling and visiting me, then I think it's better if we stop pretending. Pretending? Is that what you think I've been doing? Pretending? Her voice started to rise. I've been trying to fix things with you, Mom. I've been coming over, calling, being good. And this is how you repay me? Sarah, if you've been coming over only because you hoped I would eventually give you money, then you weren't here for the right reasons. God, Mom, you're impossible. Nothing is ever good enough for you. Whatever I do, it's never enough. Goodbye, Sarah. And I hung up. My hand was shaking. My heart was pounding. But I did not feel the panic from before. I did not feel the devastating guilt. I felt something different. I felt relief. Relief that I had done the right thing, that I had stood firm, that I had not given in. I called Margaret. I told her what had happened. I'm proud of you, Eleanor. I know it wasn't easy, but you did the right thing. I know, but it hurts. It hurts to know she really hasn't changed, that it was all an act. It hurts because you still love her, because she's your daughter. But love doesn't mean letting them destroy you. Love also means loving yourself enough to set boundaries. That night, I made myself a special dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, and green beans. The things I liked. I put music on the radio. I sat at my kitchen table, alone, and enjoyed every bite. There was no drama, no screaming, no tears, just peace. After dinner, I went out to the backyard. The plants I had sowed were growing well. The flowers I had planted were beginning to bloom. The garden, which had been neglected for months, was now alive again, full of color, full of life. I sat on the small bench my husband had put there years ago. I looked at the sky. The stars were beginning to appear, and in that moment, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt gratitude. Gratitude for being alive, for having a roof over my head, for having friends who loved me, for having the strength to defend myself. Sarah did not call again after that conversation, and I did not reach out to her. I understood that sometimes love means letting go. It means accepting that you cannot save someone who does not want to be saved. I focused on my life, on my painting classes, on my support group, on Margaret, on the small daily joys that I used to miss because I was too busy worrying about Sarah. I started planning a trip to the coast, something I had wanted to do since my husband died. I looked for small, cozy hotels, places where I could walk on the beach, where I could feel the sun on my face, where I could just be me. One morning, while I was watering the plants, Mrs. Evans, the neighbor who had stopped talking to me, approached. "Eleanor, good morning." I looked at her, surprised. "Good morning, Mrs. Evans. I want to apologize to you. I heard what really happened with Sarah. Everything. And I feel terrible for believing everything she said. I'm so sorry." "Don't worry, Mrs. Evans. It's in the past." "No, it's not okay. I judged you without knowing the whole story. And that was wrong. I hope you can forgive me." I nodded. "It's already forgiven." She smiled in relief. "If you ever want to come over for coffee, my door is open." "Thank you. I'll keep that in mind." As I watched her walk away, I realized something. I was getting back not only my life, but also my dignity, my reputation, my place in the world. And that was worth more than any amount of money. 6 months passed since the last time I spoke with Sarah. 6 months in which I learned to live for myself. 6 months in which I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. And although there were moments when I missed her, when I thought about the girl she once was, I no longer felt the devastating pain from before. I had learned to live with the loss. I had learned that sometimes loving means letting go. I took that trip to the coast I had been planning. I spent 2 weeks in a small hotel by the sea. Every morning I woke up early and walked on the beach barefoot, feeling the sand between my toes, listening to the sound of the waves. It was the first time in years I felt completely at peace, without worries, without fear, just me and the sea. During that trip, I met other women my age, Women who were also alone, who were also rebuilding their lives after losses, divorces, or family conflicts. We shared stories over coffee on the hotel terrace. And I realized I was not alone, that there was a whole world of women like me, women who had decided their peace was worth more than any toxic relationship. When I returned home, I felt renewed, different, as if I had left something heavy on that beach and had come back lighter. I continued with my painting classes. My watercolors improved so much that the teacher suggested I participate in a small exhibition at the community center. At first, I hesitated. Who would want to see my paintings? But Margaret encouraged me. Eleanor, it's time you stop hiding. Show the world who you are. I agreed. And the night of the exhibition, when I saw my paintings hanging on the walls, when I heard people talking about them, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt pride in myself, in what I had achieved, in the woman I had become. Margaret was there, of course, and the women from my support group, and Emily, and Mrs. Evans, and other neighbors who had started talking to me again after learning the truth. I was surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, who valued me. And I realized I had a family, not the blood family I had lost, but a chosen family. A family that loved me for who I was, not for what I had. One autumn afternoon, almost 8 months after my last conversation with Sarah, I was at the grocery store buying vegetables when I saw her. She was in the grains aisle, alone, with a nearly empty cart. She looked different, thinner, her hair shorter, simpler clothes. She looked tired, defeated. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she started walking toward me. My first instinct was to leave, but something stopped me. Maybe curiosity, maybe the need to close that chapter completely. "Hi, Mom," she said when she reached my side. Her voice was soft, without the anger from before, without the desperation. "Hello, Sarah." We stood there, in the middle of the aisle, with other shoppers passing by. The silence between us was dense, full of everything we had said and everything we could never say. "You look good," she said finally. "Thank you. So do you." It was a lie. She did not look good, but I did not want to be cruel. "Mom, I've been wanting to call you so many times, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me." "And what did you want to say?" She looked down. "That you were right. About everything. That I was selfish. That I was cruel. That I treated you in a way I should never have treated you. And that I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry." Her words sounded genuine, but they did not affect me as they had before. I no longer felt the urge to hug her, to tell her everything was okay, because it was not okay, and it probably never would be. "I appreciate you telling me that, Sarah. I really do. Do you? Forgive me?" Her eyes filled with tears. I took a deep breath. "Sarah, forgiveness isn't something I can just give you like that. Not after everything that happened. Maybe someday. But today, right now, the best I can do is wish you well. Wish that you find your way, that you solve your problems, that you find the peace that I have found. Does that mean you don't want to see me anymore? It means I need to protect my peace, and for now that means keeping my distance." She nodded slowly. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I understand, and I respect that. I just want you to know that despite everything, I love you, and I'm so sorry for everything I did to you. I love you too, Sarah. I will always love you. You're my daughter. But loving doesn't mean letting myself be hurt. Loving also means loving myself." We stood in silence for a few more seconds. Then she wiped her tears. "Take care, Mom. You too, Sarah." I watched her walk away down the aisle. Her figure got smaller until she disappeared among the other shoppers. And I felt something strange. It was not sadness. It was not relief. It was acceptance. Acceptance that this was how things were. That not all stories have a happy ending. That sometimes the best we can do is let go and move on. I finished my shopping and went home. Margaret was waiting at my door with a cake she had baked. "Do you remember what day it is today?" she asked with a smile. I had completely forgotten. "My birthday," 68 years old. My goodness, Margaret. And look at you. Stronger than ever. We went into the house. Margaret put the cake on the table and lit the candles. Make a wish. I closed my eyes. I thought about everything that had happened in the last year, everything I had lost, everything I had gained, and I made a simple wish. I wished to keep having the strength to live my life with dignity, to protect my peace, to be happy. I blew out the candles. Margaret clapped, and in that moment, surrounded by the scent of the cake, the warmth of my friend, the sunlight streaming through the window, I realized something fundamental. I did not need Sarah to validate me. I did not need her forgiveness or her love. What I needed was right here, in this house, in this life I had built for myself. The following months, I kept moving forward. I donated more money to the women's shelter. I joined a volunteer group that visited nursing homes to keep company with elderly people who had no family. I kept painting. I kept traveling. I kept living. From time to time, I thought of Sarah. I wondered how she was, if she had found a job, if she had solved her problems. But it was no longer a constant worry. It no longer kept me up at night. It was just a thought that came and went, like the waves of the sea. A year after that meeting in the grocery store, I received a letter. It was from Sarah. I opened it with trembling hands, not knowing what to expect. Mom, I don't know if you'll read this, but I need to write it to you anyway. I've been in therapy for the last few months. I finally accepted that I had problems I needed to solve, problems that had nothing to do with you. I understood that I blamed you for things that were my responsibility, that I expected you to solve my life when I was the only one who could. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness again. I already did that, and I know you need time. I'm writing to tell you that I'm working on being better, on being the person I should have always been, and to thank you for holding your boundaries, for not giving in, because that forced me to face reality. I love you, Mom, and I hope that someday, if you want to, we can try again, but this time, for real. No lies, no manipulation, just two women who love each other, trying to understand one another. With love, Sarah. I read the letter 3 times, and something inside me moved. It was not complete forgiveness. It was not forgetfulness. But it was a start, a possibility, a door that maybe, someday, could open a little. I put the letter in the drawer where I kept my important papers. Next to Robert's letter. The 2 most important letters of my life. One that had given me the strength to protect myself. The other that gave me hope that maybe, just maybe, not all was lost. But even if that hope never became a reality, I would be okay, because I had learned the most important lesson of all, that my worth did not depend on whether Sarah loved me or not, that my happiness did not depend on having a perfect relationship with my daughter, that I was enough, exactly as I was. I sat in the backyard that afternoon, a cup of tea in my hands, looking at the flowers I had planted. Each one had grown strong and beautiful, like me. Despite everything, despite the storms, despite the pain, and in that moment, I understood that this was my happy ending. Not the one I had imagined when Sarah was little, not one of a perfect family gathered around a table, but this one, me, alone but at peace, surrounded by people who valued me, living a life I had chosen, a life with dignity, because in the end, that is what matters. Not how much money you have, not whether your family understands you or not, but whether you can look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of who you are, whether you can sleep peacefully knowing you defended what was yours, that you did not let anyone take your dignity, and I could. Finally, after so much pain, I could. The sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink. The flowers in the garden swayed gently in the breeze, and I just sat there in my little paradise, grateful for everything I had lost and for everything I had found. Because sometimes to find yourself, you first have to get lost. And sometimes, to truly live, you first have to learn to let go. And I had learned. Finally, I had learned.